My name is Ken Brophy and I am one of the directors at K3 Consulting. Today I want to talk to you about alignment leadership. Now, we are all in an environment where the speed of change is massive, coupled with the increased complexity that this is bringing. And you may be a business that is struggling to keep up for the demand on your product or service, or you could be a business that is struggling to keep afloat. But irrespective of where you sit, having great leadership at this stage is fundamental to your success. In other videos, I've covered off how businesses may look to respond quickly around any change or transformation at this time, but today I want to talk about the role of leaders, whether you're a business owner or a business leader. Now, we spend all of our time in organisations working through change, and in our book, Mastering the Cube, we coined this term alignment leadership. And in it there were 5 key components: change innovator, change architect, change communicator, change exemplar, and change facilitator. And I wanted to talk to those facets today by discussing an example. Now, during periods of mass change, the dot-com bust or the GFC, for example, I've seen many successful changes, and I've also seen plenty that didn't go well. And what I want to talk today about is a media organisation that was realistically on its knees, and within 2 years was the market leader. Now, there's clearly a lot more to this example than the brief examples I'm about to cover off, but I think these should help bring those 5 facets to life. So the first one around change innovator. You had a CEO who arrived in this business and very quickly picked up that the executive team perhaps were captured by the current paradigm that they found themselves in. And so what he did was he looked to bring a very diverse range of people who were high performers, high potential from the next level, and bring those into the conversations around strategy and organisational design, so that that business was better prepared to innovate and challenge the status quo, so that it could think about how it would better respond to what was going on in the marketplace. From a change architect perspective, the CEO had a myopic focus over the 2 years that were the critical part of the change, and so that anyone bringing a change proposal to the organisation's executive team had to make sure that they could articulate how that tied back to the principles that had been agreed, which in turn obviously tied back to the organisational strategy. From a change communication perspective, there was a real challenge in this organisation in that they didn't feel like they had changed that much over the length of the organisation's history. And so one Monday morning, everyone arrived and they came through the front doors, and they were confronted with a timeline, and they went right through the reception. And along that timeline, you had a whole lot of different artefacts from the organisation's history, different types of cameras, different types of TVs, different types of TV shows. And what became very clear to everyone is they had never stopped changing, and change was actually a constant for this organisation, and they knew how to change and change well. Now, one of the things I want to just touch on here around communication is that you need to be communicating down through the business, and there is a worry that people will lose engagement of their teams if they communicate during periods of change. Yet you're going to lose that engagement if you don't communicate. You're better to keep people informed and make sure that they understand what is going on, the role that they can play in it, and how they might be able to actually feed into that process to help the thinking. The 4th point was a change exemplar. Now again, the CEO over the 2 years was everywhere, role modelling the behaviours, making sure that they were facilitating conversations to help break down barriers and increase speed. And they also surrounded themselves with leaders who were a part of this change and could really see what the future could look like. And there were some very different conversations with other leaders who perhaps needed to jump off the bus. And then the 5th point around change facilitation. People right through the organisation were encouraged, empowered and rewarded to find ways to challenge the current ways that the organisation was operating and the things that perhaps were holding the business back, making sure that they were keeping the customer at the core of everything they were doing. So a brief example to highlight the 5 facets of great alignment leadership. And I think if you can employ those skills at the moment, you're definitely going to help drive change in your organisation, whether it's a growth-focused change or a save-focused change. Those 5 areas are more critical than ever. Obviously, if you want to talk about this a little bit more, my contact details are on the website. Otherwise, see you later.